Today we have a very fun topic, which is about basically our experience in living in a spiritual community. Somewhere about that, something about that. I'm not sure what, but let's see lessons learned and whatnot. And I was thinking about it, and obviously we lived in the what is now called the retreat outside of Pune. That for some time we were trying to build into a community. And I lived there for around 6 years, since 2010. And I was trying to think of stories I could tell, but it becomes very hard to think of any story if I'm not just talking about things, just to think of random stories. Very few come to mind, and but hopefully some will come as I start speaking. I it was a very interesting time, and some of you may be wondering why did I even came or even went over there. And I just touched it very briefly that my brother, he and I came together. He had met Swami Kriyananda. He visited him once in Ananda village, and he asked basically Swamiji what should he do with his life, and Swamiji invited him to come to India. He invited me as well to come to India because my brother asked about me. And after a few years of thinking about it, and maybe being discouraged by my first few months in college or pre-college, I decided to come with my brother. And we landed in Pune, and we were in a flat in Pashan, for those of you who know Pune. And we were there living with the monks. And we had the greatest blessing, or one of the greatest blessings that ever happened to us, that after 1 month of being there, the monks had been there for a long time, but after a month of we coming there, the owner decided that he didn't want to rent the apartment anymore to us. And he decided that, okay, you have very little time, now you had to move. So that made us move into the community. And that was probably the best thing that could ever have happened, because I think eventually we will all have moved there, but probably not as quickly. Seems that God wanted us to get there and get busy in whatever plan he had for us. And I just remember I used to love being there. I had come in the ripe age of 19 years old, so I had almost no experience in anything. And I had certainly no experience in the spiritual path at all. I didn't know anything about the teachings, really. I just had some sort of connection with Yogananda. I had not read his book yet. So I was very fresh. And it was a wonderful thing because I had a blank slate that Master could write upon without the interference of any other spiritual teachings or whatever it may have been. And I have to say, I would have not had it otherwise. Those 6 years that I spent there really cemented my life in the spiritual path like nothing could have done. And why, you may ask? Well, easy to think of a spiritual community. You see, have you all seen Finding Happiness? And you say, Ananda village, look at that, all happy people, all, living for God. And it is true, but you don't realize that at the beginning of a community, it doesn't look like Ananda village. There were barely any trees, even in that property that we had, because the villagers used to burn the hills. They still burn the hills all the time. But until we were there, that we started saving the trees and saving the land around, there were almost no trees there. It was very barren. It was very hot. It was very muddy. Very often we didn't have water or electricity. Certainly no internet. Phone reception was very hard to find as well. And all those things, some of those things that we crave for right now, we all have them over there. And the other thing is that since it was such a small place, such a concentrated space, we got to see each other every single day, have meals together, work together, meditate together, or everything together, basically. Which sounds wonderful, isn't it? But even those times that perhaps you had a mood, you had to go and be with everybody. Even those times perhaps you woke up late, you show at breakfast and your voice is like this because you just woke up, and your eyes are like this and your head is all over the place. Well, everybody is going to see that. If there was somebody there that you didn't get along with, because that also happens, well, guess what? You had to see them every day, you had to work with them every day, and put your best smile and move forward, which, it is something that we all aspire to, the good thing is that everybody, at least there, knows that if they have a problem with somebody, it lies within them and they try to fix it within themselves. So that is a big advantage. But still, you have to be willing to go through that thing of, being with the same people, getting along. And if you get along and you're haribol, you can really go far. But if there's even a little thing, everybody is going to notice it, And it's not that they're going to start gossiping about it, but sooner or later, something is going to come up, and you better be willing to fix your issues quickly. I remember I always thought of that piece of property as a place where your karma just explodes. Everything will come to you. India already has that effect in most people. Maybe most of you were born and brought up here and you don't realize, but when you see people coming from abroad all the time, you see like how their lives like turn upside down. Well, in that piece of property, even more so. And you could choose either to grow from it or to too much. Say it's too much and leave. In fact, the first person I met when I went there, it was actually Surjo. And I remember looking at him there. I was, wow, I know this guy. Wasn't he in a movie or something? That was my first thought of Surjo. I didn't have this revelation of knowing him from any other lifetime or anything like that. For some reason, I thought he was from some movie, which, funny enough, he did get to act for the Answer movie later on. But I have to say that living 6 years over there and then moving to the city after that, and we've been there for around 3 years because we decided as a group that we will go where people were, and we will go. It was perhaps too much to ask people to go there and enjoy Ananda from there, that instead we will go and share Ananda where people are. And I have to say, the city is a very different place. Even in Pune, that we have around 17 people all living in the same area, and around 7 or 8 more people coming to our office constantly from some other areas of Pune, and we have a lot of community feeling in that way. It still is not the same. That over there, you really had the chance, if you choose to, more than anything, to live the spiritual life, to experiment with your meditations, perhaps get up very early in the morning and start meditating, and then, or stay very late at night and meditate, or some people didn't meditate at all sometimes, which is not a good experiment to do, but you had the freedom to do it. You had the freedom to really live the spiritual life because you were with people who were also there to live the spiritual life. And I have to say, being fresh on the spiritual path, if I had not had that example of all the people around me meditating, trying to be better, bettering themselves, living the teachings, studying the teachings, I don't think I would have made it. I think if I had been in that Passion apartment for those 6 years, I would not have grown nearly as much, even though the other people were still there to some degree. But over there, it was so concentrated and so joyful as well. I mean, there were their ups and downs, obviously, but it really taught you how to live with, just the minimum, how to keep God in your heart more and more, how to try to share whatever, even though we probably, for some people, look like hippies, or I don't know, during the monsoon, certainly it was all muddy, so probably we didn't give the best first impression to people who came there, when our pants were all brown. But still, somehow, people loved to be there because they could feel that they see a bunch of people that they are doing their best to build something worthwhile, to better themselves, and to share with others as well. I was always amazed how people could feel so much joy being there. Because, yeah, we also felt joyful, but it was hard work that we had to do there all the time. It wasn't easy, even in the physical plane. Just as I said, sometimes there was no water. I remember since we used to live in the monastery, I used to live in the monastery, for a long time we didn't have any water there. So for any shower or toilet, we had to walk little more than half a kilometer, at the middle of the night or whenever, just to go and use the toilet or just to go and take a shower. But the thing is that, people came and went all the time. And I will notice that in those times, it wasn't the people who meditated the most necessarily that were better off. They were the people who had the right attitude. And you understand why Swamiji would always say attitude is everything in the spiritual path, because we had to have the right attitude when we meditate as well. But in that place, it was very easy to be negative, Everything will take longer over there. If you want to construct something, if you want to get anything done there, it will take much longer. The laborers will not show up, this, that. There was no water. That seemed to be a recurring thing. Everything will take longer. And the first reaction for most people, and we had a lot of Westerners that used to go there also, especially when Swamiji would come, it was to get annoyed by it. You will get very annoyed. Why are things not happening? This should have been done so long ago. And they will get into this cloud of negativity. Most everybody went through a period of negativity in that place. Most everybody. But if they were able to come out of it and see perhaps the ridiculousness of the whole situation, or the fun behind things, or how to, okay, fine, this is not happening now, what can we do instead? Those people who developed that right attitude were the ones who stayed, and the ones you could see were really advancing. No matter how much other people meditated, if there was the negative attitude, it was just no fun to be around them. They would bring you down. And remember, because we used to see everyone every single day, we could see what was happening. If somebody was going through a mood, you could see it. It was a blessing because you could also see how to uplift them, how to bless them perhaps. But if you were having the mood, it was not so fun to go around the community. But the good thing is people never judge you. People were there trying to help. And one more thing I want to say, that, it is not easy to be in a place like that. Not everybody can. Like Yogananda said, these spiritual communities will spread like wildfire. That youth must go north, south, east, and west across the world to cover the earth with these communities of simple living and high thinking. And you realize why he said thousands of youth. It's because it really requires a lot of sacrifice to be there. Now, it doesn't mean that only the youth can be there or only the youth can start a community. I think more than anything is people with a youthful spirit. Yes, having a youthful body helps, because if you had to walk up and down the hill 20 times in a day, you had to be somewhat fit. But even then, we have this lady called Prisha that some of you may know. She is probably in her 70s, late 70s or 80s, and she lived there as long as I lived there, or even longer than I did. And she would walk up and down the hill all the time. But she, if you know her at all, I always say like she's the youngest of all of us. Because she's just like a little child, And that spirit of adventure is required for building such a place. But also you realize that it requires a lot of sacrifice. But it's a joyful kind of sacrifice. Right now, having cold water or, not having internet and all the things seems like, oh my God, how could we do that? But once you're there, you realize how much you don't need these things. Yes, you need them if you're trying to reach other people and whatnot. But how much happiness there is in simplicity, on simple living and high thinking. And then you don't see it as a sacrifice at all. It seems like people that are in other places are sacrificing, this inner joy that they could acquire if only they knew how to live simply. But then Since, we don't know when we will have a community in the rural area here in India, I think eventually it will happen. When it's time, it will happen. And because it was part of Yogananda's mission. But still here, the same principles apply. When you come to this center, do you come just with the attitude of, I want to take from whoever is there? Or, I want to give. I want to be a part of something bigger and share with others, even if I'm silently sharing blessings. Do you come here and start talking about the negative? As Yogananda said, I could start about his organization, SRF. He said, I could start naming faults of this organization right now and never stop. But why look at the drains when there is beauty all around? Somehow, it's very easy to look at the drains. In fact, one time Shamini made a painting about that, about that phrase, why look at the drains when there's beauty all around? And my eye immediately went to the drain, somehow. And somehow it's just so easy to do that. Are you one of those people who, when they come here, they just see the negative, and they emphasize the negative, and then talk to other people about the negative? Don't be like that. Take the time, and here also you get to see the same people over and over, maybe not for lunch and dinner and everything, but still, every weekend or every time you come, you will see the same people. How do you react? How do you interact with one another? How do you feel when you come here? There's those ways that you can start building a sense of community with each other, a community of bringing each other up, of seeing the highest in each other, and try to bring the highest always, wherever you go. Now, those are some of the things I can think of, lessons that I learned when I was in a community. And obviously there's a lot of practical lessons as well, like we learned to do plumbing, electricity, like all sorts of crazy things you will not think of. And I'll just conclude with this funny thing that I remember at some point somebody decided that we needed to have cows. So we got a donation to have some cows. And it was the funniest thing, because since we were so unexperienced there, and I had to admit the people nearby used to take advantage of us a lot, because a lot of foreigners were there, especially at the beginning. And so somebody went and bought some cows from the nearby village, but these cows, they didn't look very healthy. And I remember there were like 4 cows. One, whenever you went close to it, it started licking you. I don't know why. And then there were 2 that whenever they were grazing somewhere, you went nearby, they will come and try to attack you. They were crazy cows. And I remember every day, all these 4 cows will give us maybe 1.5 liters of milk. Until finally they got sold again. But, we were so unexperienced. Obviously, the cow has to be pregnant to give milk, I believe. And, we really didn't know much, but we learned a lot. And that I think that if we had to do it all over again, not only how to get things figured out in the physical plane, but also the spirit that one has to bring to it, it will become much better. And you are very fortunate because Sturgeon and Narayani were part of those communities as well, very much involved. And obviously they were with Swamiji a lot. So they know what they do. And, take their guidance seriously. Because even though they are very young, they are very wise and they have a lot of experience, much more than you may even realize. Okay, now I invite Shami to conclude.
And this topic, when we got this topic, it was really interesting for me because my first thought was, now I was among the last ones to kind of join that wave of people living out there. I moved there only after Swamiji passed, after he left his body. So I was like, am I going to have anything to share? I don't know. I mean, I was so new. I was the new one in the batch. But I started thinking about it and it was just so many lessons, so many stories come to your mind, but so many lessons that I realized what a great opportunity that was. I hadn't actually thought about the experience until now. So I want to share with you a couple of those points to add to Bara's. He shared a few lessons and something which hopefully, relates to all of us now, today, and also helps us move forward. So, when I was thinking of this experience, what I realized was, and what you can probably grasp from the experience Bara was sharing, was it kind of set the foundation for us for how to live the path, how to walk the spiritual path all the time. And so the first time, basically, I was fresh out of college too. The typical college kid who's just finished, and now you have all these ambitions, and you're going to get into the world and make it big and whatnot. And all of a sudden, the path comes along, and I reach Ananda. I love it. I'm there doing the meditation classes, I'm serving, but I didn't know. I was one of those who wasn't quite sure if this is a lifestyle that I want to commit to. And fair enough, I think everybody goes through those. So luckily, somebody was going to the Pune community at that time for Christmas. And this was the last Christmas that Swamiji was there. That was 2012. So we got on a train together. We went on a little adventure from Delhi, came to the community. And there was a lot of people because it was Swamiji there. So people had come from all over the world, young people, old people, long-time members, new members. And we were meditating together, serving, we were chanting, we were eating food at Bara's cafe, having his cookies, which many of you have had. We were just doing fun things together. We were playing football together, having conversations, and talking to whoever, whatever age group they were. I just started realizing, wait a minute, they're all like me. They've gone through either similar experiences, similar questions in life, but they're committed to this. They're committed to the path. They're putting their heart and soul into it. And subconsciously, when I just stayed there for 10 days for that Christmas time, and I went back to my job in Gurgaon and all that, but somehow this sense of commitment, this deep sense of, I need to do this, I need to give everything to this, just sprouted. And I went back home, and I remember I was staying with my parents at that time. So it wasn't like, we were all meditating together. My parents were also on the path or something. We all had our own lives. But I just was like, I need to meditate. I need to get Kriya. I hadn't even taken Kriya yet. I hadn't got my routine. I need to put my effort into this. This is a fabulous opportunity. I can't waste it. So just in doing that for a few months, everything started to change. Within a few months, the opportunity came of, do you want to move to the Pune community, the land there? And I was like, yes. So I grabbed the opportunity. But before that, I went for a few months to, Ananda village, which you've seen. Many of you have been there now. You've seen it in Finding Happiness. I went there to do karma yoga. Now, in India, when we do karma yoga, especially when we used to do it at our ashram and you used to have to clean something, you could actually see that it was dirty, and then you clean it and it looks clean, you feel good about it. There at the expanding light, everything is already so clean. The tables are clean, the glass are clean, and so you have to show up every day to clean something that looked clean, and I was just, wow, why am I here cleaning things that are clean? So for me, this big battle of showing up every day to serve, that's the whole point of karma yoga. And having enough support. We have a wonderful mentor there who leads the program. He's just guiding. No, come, be part of it, show up. You've made a commitment to the program, be here. It's not about what you do. It's not about the results of what you do. It's about showing up, putting your best energy, and also adding to the energy, the group energy, He was sharing, like, there's a group here that's also doing the program with you, not just you alone. If one person is missing, it affects the whole group. They also start saying, okay, So you have to show up, and all together, you're supporting each other in that way. That's community too. So that was a nice foundation of showing up. So this is my first lesson, all these little things relating to showing up. So when I showed up physically with my bags to the Pune community, I remember I arrived in a big truck. Someone took me from the airport and my bags. I was a typical city girl, no? So everything in my many bags, and reached the community. And actually, Bara was there to greet me, and he had to take my bags with me to my apartment where I'm going to stay. And he's like lugging all the bags himself. I'm not even like, oh, can I help you or anything? Just like expecting, yeah, do. And then, can you move this there? Can you move that cupboard here? The bed has to move here. So now we get a good kick out of it because, and I still remember he often tells me, yeah, he's still the same. And he often reminds me when he saw me moving there, he was like, I give this girl 2 months, or maybe, did you say 1 month? Something like that. I give her 1 month and then she'll be gone. Like, she's not going to survive these simple conditions, cold water showers, and all those things we were sharing. But when I reached there, that didn't matter. There was something much bigger going on than my little needs for hot water showers and, having a big job and all those things. There was something much, much bigger going on. And that's the second point, in a way, which is cooperating with this bigger flow of energy, cooperating with other people, cooperating with the flow of where we are right now here in Mumbai. This is our community where we have all of us. We have friendships here. We have each other, and it's just that decision to say, okay, I'm going to go with this flow. I'm going to also, like he was sharing another point, very nice. It's not just about me and my moods, what I'm going through. It's about I'm part of a group of people now, and it's also my responsibility to do my best, no? To show up for them, to put my joy into it, to give them a little joy. So we end up growing so much because we get out of ourselves and our little moods and things. Speaking of moods, one of the things that happen often in the community was, again, of course, Narayani, Shurjo, Bara, we were kind of on the retreat team at that time. So we were managing the retreat there. And Bara is sharing a lot of things about moods and going through moods, but I never saw him even once in a mood. Me, on the other hand, I had my days quite often, and I would show up like, and you just have to pick yourself up. You're there with people, but I was young and new. What are you going to do? So I would be sitting there. I would show up on one of my low days and sit at my computer, at the desk. And promptly I would see Bara, Narayani coming with 2 big buckets of soap water with scrubbers in them. And then, come, Shamini, come on, you want to come? Let's go and let's, clean something. And so we just go scrub some floor and, there they were. And joyful, energetic. And I'm just there going, why are we cleaning this floor? In America, it was like, why am I cleaning something that's clean? Here, I'm like, why are we cleaning this? It's never going to be clean. But it was just, what was the point of that? It's just learn to put joy, learn to put energy into everything you do. You become joyful. It's not about what we do, isn't it? And all of us taste that even a little bit here. We come, we be part of it, just a little over here. Show up, we put chairs out, whatever we do, we clean, we put flowers on the altar. It's not about what we do. It's about that energy of joy, of devotion we put out. And together, and therefore we grow, therefore we end up progressing together in that way. So these are a couple of little lessons. So showing up and then also cooperating with each other. And we've got a huge blessing of having each other here. We are in Pune. When we come here, we feel the same as we do in Pune. It's family. It's friendships that go way beyond, whether we met yesterday or whether we met. It's just there's a depth of friendship here. Let's make the most of these opportunities. We need this more than anybody. We need to come. We need to be part of this. We need to show up because this is a great opportunity. One of our main service right now is online. So we have to deal with a lot of people from Ananda India Online, but around in a lot of small cities. And so often all they're saying to us is, oh, but I really need more support. How else can I? So we're realizing online community in India is really a next step that is needed because people just don't have centers and the support around. But we have it. We have it right now. So let's make the most of this blessing from Master. And that's community, basically, within our hearts. Thank you so much.